Okay, hello everyone. Happy Wednesday. Thanks for joining us at our LeadCon session of the Leader's Guide to Growing an Org. So my name is Rihanna Mendoza. I am a grad assistant for Student Life and Leadership, and I work with sports clubs as well as leadership programs. I use she, her pronouns, and I am in the second year of my grad program. And I will let my fellow grad assistants introduce themselves as well.
Okay, thank you, Rihanna, for that. My name is Nylah, and I am an incoming first year in the graduate program for Master's of Science in Higher Education, and I'm also a graduate assistant within Fraternity and Sorority Life in SLL.
And then we also have Saneem. He's he, him pronouns, and he's currently experiencing technical difficulties, but he will be with us shortly. So we thank you all for your patience. And I'll go ahead and get started with our session. So as you all may know, based on the description, that the Leader's Guide to Growing an Org is supposed to help you understand your leadership role and how to grow in it, as well as how you can help grow your org. So before we get started, we do want to do some general housekeeping. So I do want to share that we are recording, so please keep yourself muted to prevent any disruptions on the recording. If you do not feel comfortable having your camera on, then that's okay. But we do encourage you all to have your cameras on so we can see your faces and engage with you in that manner. Feel free to rename yourself with your name and student org so we know which org you're representing or where you're coming from. And then feel free to use the chat box with any thoughts or just reactions, and as well as questions, and we will try to get to them as soon as we can or answer them at the end. You can also use the raise hand feature. Of course, you're all familiar with that. And then you can unmute and share something with the group if you feel comfortable. And we will be using breakout rooms today as well. So please be respectful when others are speaking. And make sure to stay till the very end so that way you can get credit for this session, as we will be having an attendance link for today. So we'll go ahead and get started with an icebreaker. And because this group is so large, we can't share with each other all together, but I will be sending you all to some breakout rooms so that way we can all get comfortable with the space that we're in today, and you can all introduce yourselves. So for today, our icebreaker will consist of your name, your pronouns, the year that you are at Cal State Fullerton, and then an unknown fact about yourself. So I will go ahead and send that invitation, and then feel free to share with your group. So thank you for participating in our little icebreaker to start us off today. So I will go ahead and pass it over to Nylah to go over the overview of today's session.
Thank you, Rihanna. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of it all, I just want to give you a breakdown of what to expect today. So for the first topic we'll be discussing is being an authentic leader, specifically elements of authentic leadership theory. Second, leadership and your org and connecting you to your org. Third, growing your org, best practices for development. And last but not least, student life and leadership news and logistics with important dates and deadlines for your org. Next. Okay, so we'll begin today's presentation with the values activity. This activity is meant to get you to really think about what your core values are at this time in your life, not just what your values are in general, but what you identify as your core values. Noting that this is a specific time in your life, and sometime in the future, you may evolve as times change. That's okay, and as you evolve, so do your core values. So we'll be dropping a link in the chat, and we ask that you please open it to follow along. So I'll give all of you like a couple of minutes to click on the link and get yourself situated. And I believe Brianna will be doing that. Okay, sorry about that. technology is not our friend today. So there should be a link in the chat sent by me. If you click on it, you'll see that you're going to a completely different website, and we'll still be on the Zoom call, and you'll be following along as you read out the instructions. Next, please. Okay, so step 1. Click on the link and scroll down. It should look like the image on the left. If it's a little blurry, I do apologize, but this is how the website should look like. And step 2, select 10 words that resonate as values and guide your actions on a regular basis. So if you don't know how to do that, that's completely fine. This was new to me as well, so I understand. And that's why we have instructions for y'all. Next, please. Okay, so for step 2, you're going to use the arrows to go through the words. If you resonate, click the green add plus button. And so as you see on the left-hand side, there's a picture that has circles and arrows in yellow. That's specifically where you'll want to focus your attention on. And then once you go through all of the words, you want to save this part for last. If you see that there are no specific values that resonate with you, you can add it in. So you want to just fill in the following boxes that are, again, in yellow, and with whatever word you want to add. So for myself, I gave an example, and I believe it was integrity. And then you just fill it in and then click create. For this specific step 2, we will give you 10 minutes to complete that. If all of you want to just give a thumbs up when you're done, we would appreciate that. But if not, in 10 minutes, we'll just continue on with step 3. Okay, it is 1:26 on the dot. Sorry about that. And we will go on to step 3. Okay, so sorry. Now you have selected your top 10. Your page should look like this image. And for step 3, from these 10 words, we will ask that you only keep 6 of them. So instead of 5, just do 6. And if you could delete the ones that you don't resonate as much. And you don't have to click the button that said save values and continue. Once you're at this image, you just delete 4 of them to end up with 6 words. And we'll give you all 3 minutes for that. Step number 4. Okay, so your image should not look like this image. Your screen should now look like this image where it has 6 words. So finally, out of these 6 words, we ask that you pick 3 values as your core values. Again, delete the ones that don't resonate as much to you, and we will give you 2 minutes. So at 1:32, we will be back for step 5. Okay, great. Then we'll move on to the next slide. Okay, so you should now have selected your top 3 values that guide your action. Can you go to the next? Okay, these values should be present in your everyday action. So for step 5, you notice that it says we'll go into breakout rooms. We're going to scratch that idea, and instead, to make it easier on everyone, we ask that if you feel comfortable to share your values in the chat, and that way you can see if anyone else got the same values you did. For myself, my values were happiness, integrity, and community. So yeah, that's, if you wanted to get to know me better, those are my top 3 values. Okay, so there are some takeaways to this activity. You can more easily identify who you are as a leader, and these values will guide your actions when making decisions. It's a step forward towards identifying your passions, and you'll know what goes against your aspiration and eliminate those from your decisions. And last but not least, understanding oneself is the key to being a successful leader. Following with that last bullet, if you don't know who you are and what you stand for, how can you inspire others to work with you to create positive social change? Throughout this presentation, we ask that you keep these core values in mind and apply them. I want to say thank you all for who commented in the chat and participated in this activity. I hope you enjoy this and share your values, not just in this presentation, but in your everyday life. Thank you.
Okay, thanks Nylah for leading that activity. So now we're going to start about leadership starts with you. So we do have some questions here today. Do you know your personal values? So you should now. If it's still a little unclear, that's okay. You can always go back and do that value sort again. It's always great to see, how your values might be changing in your life and just to keep reflecting on your growth. How do those values influence the way that you lead? Do your values align with your intentions? And are you committed to leadership? So these are a bunch of questions that we just wanted to ask you at the start of this session, just to keep in mind and just so you can use them later on to reflect after learning about some of the things we'll talk about today. And you will have access to these slides. So of course, if you don't know right now, you can always refer to them again later and see how your answers might change or how you might be growing as a leader. So I want to start by talking about being an authentic leader. So again, we are touching on authentic leadership theory, which is fairly new, but the whole premise of authentic leadership is that people want a leader that they can trust, someone that they know they can count on and is dependable. And so the four main parts of being an authentic leader is self-awareness. So this goes back to knowing your purpose or your passions and how you lead. There's moral perspective, which is just understanding your values and how they work in your life. There's balanced processing, which means being able to make objective decisions and weighing both sides of a challenge, or even just understanding multiple sides to a story. And then of course, relational transparency. So talking about effective communication and being honest with those you're working with, so that way they're on the same page as you. So these are the four main parts of being an authentic leader. And we just want you to keep those in mind as we move along for today. And of course, like Nylah mentioned, how might your core values intertwine with some of these things as well? So let's just talk a little bit. You can unmute yourself or put it in the chat. How does being an authentic leader help my organization? There are no wrong answers, just what you think might correlate. And I'll go ahead and read some of your responses in the chat if you don't feel comfortable unmuting. So we see Audrey said, inspiring others. Yeah, so being an authentic leader can inspire others. Thank you for that. Any other responses? Members feel that they can trust you. Yes, connecting with your members. Yeah. So a lot of that goes with growing your organization, right? If people can trust you and they feel connected to you, or if you're inspiring them, all of these things are going to draw people to your organization and to you as a leader. So I see a lot of answers coming up in the chat. Thank you so much for participating. It seems like you all have an idea of why this is so important. So I'll go ahead and move us right along. And I will pass it to Sanim.
Thank you, Rihanna. Okay, so we're going to be talking today about how a leader connects to their organizations. So one of the ways that a leader connects to their organization is by staying organized. So your ability to lead in an effective manner is influenced by your organizational skills. So keeping everything organized and planning wisely to help members feel comfortable staying in the organization. Another way is that we develop trust with our members. And so having trust not only with members, but between you, your fellow officers, and members will impact member retention and organization culture positively. Another way is that we keep them engaged. And so helping others feel a sense of belonging in your organization, and it's going to snowball. One of the ways, again, that a leader connects their organization is, again, through being an authentic leader. So self-awareness, moral perspective, balanced processing, and relational transparency as well. Okay. And I wanted to share a powerful quote with you guys as well. So this quote says that leadership is a way of thinking, a way of acting, and most importantly, a way of communicating. So essentially, being a leader is a lifestyle.
So you want to grow your org. So these are 3 areas for student org development that we'll be focusing on today. However, there are more areas that you can focus on. So today we will focus on mission, membership, and community impact. So for growing mission, taking the time to refocus on your organization's mission or purpose, communication is key. You want to meet with your officers before the start of the term or year to make sure everyone is on the same page. This helps with the direction you and your org want to go in. Don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. If you notice a pattern of activities your org participates, your club or org participates in, and you want to change that, go ahead and do that, take a risk. And connect with alumni or staff or faculty. Connection is everything, and you'll never know who will be there for you in the future. For growing membership, remember that growth doesn't always mean size. Growth occurs in quality and quantity. Recruitment of members. Members aren't just numbers, they're people. So connect with them on a level. For supporting each other as officers with a strong foundation, you can lean on each other. Creating community within your org. It's okay to connect with others more in a smaller setting. Just don't forget to come back to the full circle. And then for taking part in developmental moments together, you'll just remember that you want to glow and grow together, and it will create everlasting memories. And then for growing community impact, community comes in different forms. The Titan community is one of them. Consider your org's contribution to the Titans experience. What have you seen be done? And from there, asking yourself that question, go see where that question leads you. Branch out when you feel your org has the capacity to impact other communities. Don't compare your org or club. You're all growing at the pace you're meant to be. Heart emoji.
Thank you, Nylah. Okay, so we're going to be doing an activity now. It's going to be a little quick, but I want you all to take 10 minutes and come up with an analogy of what growth means. So it could be a story that you've, heard, read, or seen on any, media platform, book, or whatever you like. But I want to give you an example first so you understand it a little bit more. So let's say that you have a seed and you continue to water the seed and care for that seed. And as the seed grows, so does your leadership skills, because the water that you help use to help nourish the seed is your persistence and your willingness to learn as well. So please take this time to come up with your analogy, and then we'll be sharing it in breakout rooms. Okay, welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that activity. Would anyone like to share their analogy? You can feel free to unmute yourself as well.
I said that growth for me was figuring out who I wanted to be and who I wanted to become, in terms of knowing what I wanted to study. I really didn't know that when I was younger, and it took me a while to figure it out. That to me was my growth. It took a lot, but I'm here and I finally know. So yeah, I just wanted to share that.
That's great. I'm really happy to hear that. Anyone else?
Well,
Okay.
I can go.
Go ahead. Yeah.
My growth was kind of like thinking of it as a story and thinking of it more of like a character development kind of thing of how, whether it's yourself or someone else, how you can go from point A to point B, more of the change in how you started.
Awesome. That's really
I
fantastic.
can share mine as well. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I thought growth is kind of similar to plants. I'm a plant mom. So when you continue to water and feed and give your plants sun, they're successful. So being a good leader is feeding those in your group and making sure that they're successful.
That's awesome. I love that one. Okay, so moving on to the next slide, we're going to be talking about the takeaway from that activity. So how will your growth analogy motivate you for this upcoming year? And again, feel free to unmute yourself.
I think a big takeaway from the analogies, it's you're kind of speaking it into existence, like how you want to be as a leader. So you could always kind of reference back to the analogy you gave and be like, okay, am I on like the right path that I set for myself?
That's awesome. Nice. Does anyone else want to share?
For my analogy, I had thought of the way you grow up playing sports. You learn one thing that's like the broader idea, but then as you conquer that, there's always smaller details to focus on that even the pros have to do to practice. So I think it's taking the stride to say, I might be excelling and I've been able to apply a lot from what I know about leadership, but there's always going to be small details that you can start to focus in on more now that you've conquered those other aspects. So it's to be, I guess for this year, it'll be to see what I can focus on that's new, a newer detail because of where I've learned so far.
Nice, yeah. And I feel like with sports, a lot of people can definitely resonate with the growth analogy of that one as well.
So thank you all for sharing some of your awesome growth analogies. You were all very creative, and we loved hearing those examples too. So thank you. But to tie all of this together, we really just wanted to touch on, the concept of growth, and really emphasizing that, everyone is growing at their own rate, and we're all in different places. So to never compare yourself to someone else and to remember, your journey is the one that matters, right? So I know, like Alicia had mentioned in her growth analogy, if you continue to water and feed your plant, it will grow. And so if you don't know already, plants have different needs. And so that's kind of why we went with the plant theme with our session today. All plants have different needs based on, what habitat they're originally from and things like that. And so don't expect that, the same things or formulas or whatever will work for you. Everyone is different. So it's always important to try new methods in order to push yourself and challenge yourself to grow as a leader. So maybe for one person, having a vision board will help them excel. And maybe for the next person, just journaling and reflecting on, what's happened in the past will help them grow. So always taking the time to get to know yourself better, right? Understanding yourself, that self-awareness that we talked about for authentic leadership is always going to be important to growing as a leader and how that applies in helping your org develop, right? So I'll go ahead and pass it back to Sanim to wrap up this activity.
Thanks so much, Rihanna. Okay, so as we're concluding this LeadCon session, you want to remember that a leader is always growing. So it's important to remember your growth analogies. Now I'll pass it back to you, Rihanna.
Okay, and so to start up with the wrap up of our session, we do have this bit.ly link and a QR code for you all. It does have a bunch of campus resources that range from, student wellness to leadership development and opportunities on campus. There are both in-person and virtual opportunities on here. So you can go ahead and take a look at that in your own time or right now, it's up to you. But we did want to make these resources available to you, and you will have access to these slides later on once I have all your email addresses to send this out to you. And so now we'll be moving on to some news and logistics for student life and leadership, and I will go ahead and pass it to Sanim again.
Okay, thank you, Rihanna. Okay, so some important dates to note. You want to remember that re-registration ends on August 31st. So if you have any questions or would like assistance in re-registering your organization, Student Life and Leadership offers re-registration clinics every Thursday from 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. until August 26th. You also want to remember that Discoverfest is coming up. So it's going to happen starting Wednesday, August 18th at 2 p.m. And again, once your organization has officially been registered, you're going to receive information to sign up for a hybrid Discoverfest Fall 2021. So the in-person one is going to be on Wednesday, September 1st, and then the virtual fair is going to be on Thursday, September 2nd. So at this time, you can find these dates on Titan Link as well.
You said that we would be getting the Discoverfest information upon completion of the Reregistration, correct?
Yes, that's correct. So once you have completed all the steps for re-registration, which includes the Titan Link application for re-registration, your treasurer and president's trainings, and then the attendance for LeadCon, you will be able to see an email from student orgs with all the information on signing up for Discoverfest. And those will be, rolling out as orgs are registered. Okay, so moving on to the next thing, LeadCon is ongoing. So of course, we are only the third session and there are 3 more. So if you know a fellow student leader who has not attended one yet and needs to, be sure to remind them that we have more upcoming sessions so they can meet that requirement. But also these last 3 sessions have great information. So if you can make it, you should attend so that way you can get that knowledge and get prepared for fall semester. So I have that information on the screen, and you can also find it on Titan Link or on our Student Life and Leadership Instagram as well. And then as we are wrapping up, we do have this survey for you all, and I believe Nayeli will be able to send that in the chat for you. So we do ask that you complete this survey to get credit for today's attendance, or for your attendance today in today's session. And then once you have completed it successfully, make sure you click submit on your Qualtrics survey, and then you can go ahead and head out for today. We will be sticking around, so if you have any questions, feel free to hang around and we'd love to talk to you all. But other than that, thank you so much for coming today, and we hope you learned something new.
Thank you so much, everyone.